George was basking in the sun-drenched Caribbean, I went to him. It was a long shot, but I thought I'd start my search for the Jaguar Stone at the British Museum. The corridor led back to the main entrance. I wasn't leaving here until I'd got what I'd come for. It was a phone, probably for staff only. I didn't need to make a call. The carving looked Buddhist in subject, but Mesoamerican in execution. I wanted nothing to do with that statue. It made me nervous somehow. There was a huge carving of somebody who must have been important once. There was nothing I wanted to do with the statue except find out where he bought his hat. Très chic. It was a small, flat square of polished obsidian. Nothing like the one I was looking for. According to the caption, this was the scrying mirror given to Dr. John Dee by Sir Francis Drake. The cabinet was locked. The display case contained a couple of vases. Perhaps I'm a Philistine, but old vases bore me. The pots in the case seemed to amuse the girls no end. I had and have no interest in old pots. The two Japanese girls were inexplicably amused by something. I couldn't understand what the girls were laughing at. Bonjour. I wonder if you could help me.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
What's so funny? Oh, never mind. I doubted the girls would be any help to me. It was a stone identical in size and style to the Coyote stone. However, this stone bore the image of a jaguar. The cabinet was locked. The mask looked more African than American. I didn't want the mask, although it certainly reminded me of somebody. It was a woven wall hanging with a South American design.
Excuse me, miss. Please don't touch the exhibits.
The carving looked Central or South American in style, perhaps Aztec. I doubted I could sneak this enormous stone out under my jacket. The attendant didn't show it, but I sensed he was watching my every move. The cabinet was locked. The cabinet contained a dagger decorated with Mayan designs.
Can I help you, miss?
Have you ever heard of an English sea captain called El Draco?
El Draco? Not a very English name.
I think that's what the Spanish would have called him. It was about the time of the conquistadors.
16th century. Oh, I know. That's what the Spanish called Sir Francis Drake.
Francis Drake? Have you got anything here that belonged to him?
Indeed, miss. We have a couple of artifacts he brought back from one of his journeys.
What can you tell me about the scrying mirror?
That belonged to the alchemist and part-time Elizabethan spy, Dr. John Dee. It was brought back from the New World by Sir Francis Drake and presented to him. It's Mayan, you know.
What is a scrying mirror?
It's rather like a crystal ball, and you can't see anything in it. Apparently, he had a partner who used it to talk with angels. If you ask me, you were barking mad.
It didn't look anything like the Coyote Stone. This one was like a little black shaving mirror. Is the scrying mirror the only piece of obsidian Drake gave Dee?
Funny you should ask. There's another called the Jaguar Stone. He never liked it though. Said there were angels in the mirror, but devils in that stone.
Can I take a closer look at Dee's mirror, please?
No, you cannot. That's why the cabinet is locked. They tried some newfangled interactive scheme. And you can guess what happened. Bloody kids ran off with half the exhibits. Hands-on experience, my foot. In my days, it was hands off, I ask you. What do kids know about ancient Mayan civilization? Nothing.
Can you tell me something about the Jaguar Stone?
Certainly, miss. The so-called Jaguar Stone was brought back from the Americas by Sir Francis Drake and presented with, as you already know, the more famous scrying mirror to John Dee. The old loony didn't like the stone, though. Reckoned it was tainted by the devil. Come along, miss. I'll show you the mirror.
I've already... Oh, never mind.
There. John Dee's famous scrying mirror, given to him by Francis Drake.
Do you know if this mirror has any relevance to Tezcatlipoca?
Who? Tislek... I can't even say it. Oh, there's someone here who'll be able to help you better than me. This young lady has some questions to ask, Professor. I think she's from France.
Professor Oubier?
Eh? What?
You two know each other, do you? Excuse me, the telephone.
We meet again.
Mademoiselle? France, eh?
Yes, I believe that's where you live, Professor.
I have a house there, on the outskirts of Paris, but I haven't been back for many months.
What can you tell me about the Jaguar Stone, Professor?
It's obsidian, from the Chichen Itza region.
I thought you were going to stay in Quaramonte to witness the eclipse.
Alas, business comes first. An important consignment of artifacts on loan to the British Museum. But I intend to return to Quaramonte in plenty of time.
Professor Oubier, your taxi's here.
If you'll excuse me, I have some urgent business to attend to at the docks.
Can you answer me some questions about the Jaguar Stone?
Certainly, miss. If you just step this way. It's gone. Some sods half-inched it.
Half-inched?
Stolen it, miss. Never mind. The silent alarm will have been tripped. I'm afraid nobody can leave until our crack security team gets here.
How long will that take?
Could be a while. I think it's their tea break.
The thief could be miles away by then.
Don't you worry about that, miss. Just don't try to leave.
It was too much of a coincidence that Oubier showed up and the stone promptly disappeared. I didn't have time for their crack security team to finish their tea. I had to get after him. I didn't steal the stone. I was nowhere near it.
So who do you suppose did steal it?
It must have been the Japanese girls.
Did you see them touch the cabinet?
Not exactly. But they're laughing about something.
All girls giggle. Especially Japanese ones.
It must have been Oubier.
Oh, begging your pardon, but he's a man of letters. A professor.
So was Moriarty. Man of letters or not, he's your culprit. Don't you think it's suspicious that Oubier has urgent business at the docks?
Not in the slightest, young lady. He's gone to oversee the unloading of cargo, an exhibition of Mayan sculpture on loan from Mexico City.
What's the name of the ship?
The Xibalba Princess, moored down by Tower Bridge. Why do you ask?
Just wondering. Thank you, you've been most helpful. There was a small key in the lock. All that was left inside the cabinet was a card describing the missing stone. It would probably be less suspicious if I kept away from the empty case. It was a small key intended for a small lock. Look at this. The thief left this key in the cabinet.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
That makes the theft an inside job, right?
Oh dear.
In other words, the thief was Professor Oubier.
Well, let's leave that for the police to decide, shall we? I better phone them right away. Hello?
I knew I had nothing to worry about if the police were called.
Yes, I'll hold.
But I had to catch up with Oubier, and fast.
I'm sorry, miss, but I shall have to ask you to stay.
Oh, but surely you don't suspect me of stealing the stone?
No, but you will have to make a statement to the police. You're a witness. Please, miss, don't go.
Okay. The doors were securely locked. There was nothing very useful in my bag, just a single hair clip. It was a hair clip. It was the key to the museum display cabinet. There was nothing useful in the bag. That's the kind of thing Georges would do, not me. The key didn't fit this lock. The key unlocked the case. I locked the case again and took the key. It was an obsidian dagger, thin and razor sharp.
You'll have to be quick, miss. I'm on the phone. What was it you wanted?
Take a look at this.
What are you doing with that?
Just looking. What was it used for?
It's a sacrificial dagger, and I'd feel a lot happier if you put it down.
I levered the handle open with the thin dagger.
The room had been decorated to resemble the interior of a sailing ship. It was disturbingly effective. Captain Frederick Ketch, 1570. Around his neck was a cross. Maybe he was a part-time pirate. It was the portrait of Captain Ketch. The portrait might have made a nice souvenir, but it was too large to carry. Maybe that wheel was from Ketch's ship. Suddenly, I was 12 years old again. Hard a port, boatswain! Aye, aye, Captain Stobart! She cannot take it, Captain! The lad's dead! Abandon ship! It was a ship's bell. Two bells and all's well! Pirates were cool. It was an old wooden barrel. Maybe it was from Ketch's ship. Yow! I should have known better than to put my hand in there. Grandma Stobart had a nasty experience in a water butt once. Whatever lived in that barrel could stay there as far as I was concerned. It was Captain Ketch's sea chest. Its battered appearance hinted at salty tales of maritime adventure and swashbuckling. Long months at sea with a rum-sodden, mutinous crew, hardtack and scurvy. And this chest, full to the brim with Ketch's loot, pearls, diamonds, emeralds, and doubloons. On the other hand, it could have been full of spare blankets.
Surprise!
What the? Who are you?
I'm Emily.
What were you doing in there, Emily?
Hiding. What are you doing here?
Grown-up stuff.
Grown-ups? Pfft. I'm never gonna grow up, I'm not. You shouldn't be here. What's your name?
I'm George.
Pleased to meet you, Jaws.
George.
Jaws?
Jeez.
Make your mind up.
It was Captain Ketch's sea chest. The little girl had cute freckles, cute little nose, and the eyes of a KGB interrogator. Around her neck was a large cross on a chain. It was identical to the one in the portrait of Captain Ketch. Why don't you run along and play?
Aunt Mina told me. Stay out of mischief.
Well, that doesn't mean you have to stay indoors, does it? On a beautiful day like today?
There's a storm coming.
Oh, nuts. You don't know that.
I do so. I can see the whole world from the window.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm busy. Why don't you go play with Rio?
I'm not allowed.
How come?
'Cause Aunt Frost says I'm not allowed out of the house. That's why, Mr. Nosy Beak.
Too bad. Why don't you ask your other aunt if you can play with Rio?
Aunt Mina's cuckoo. Aunt Frost says so. She says when the Lord handed out common sense, Aunt Mina was off getting double portions of chin.
That Rio's a smart kid. He helped me outwit Bronson.
Rio is clever. He can spit ever so far.
What can you tell me about Captain Ketch?
That's him on the wall, in the picture.
Yeah, I know. Scary-looking guy, huh?
He was my great-great-great-great-grandfather.
Yeah, you have his eyes. That cross you're wearing, Emily,
It's my lucky Jesus cross.
it's just like the one Captain Ketch wore.
Uh-huh.
Can I borrow it?
Uh-uh.
What would you trade for that cross, Emily?
A puppy.
Well, I don't happen to have a puppy in my pocket right now. Can you think of anything else you'd trade?
Don't know.
I bet you can't keep this piece of coal in your mouth for the next half hour.
Could too. I could keep it in my mouth for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah? Go on then. Prove it.
Don't want to. And if you try to make me, I'll tell Aunt Mina.
Look, an ancient Mayan stone.
Is that a magic stone?
Well, I don't know about that.
No.
Would you like to play darts?
No?
Oh, come on. I'll throw, you catch.
That's dangerous. Darts will stick in me and make me bleed.
Do you know how to use a theodolite?
We don't learn anything about surveying at my school. Not until 5th grade.
The top surface of the desk had a large recessed area set into it. I guessed it was intended to stop things rolling off in heavy seas. There was also an inkwell, and, a few inches away, a small hole with a feather placed in it. That looked like that's where it was supposed to be, so I left it there. It was an indented well in the corner of the desk. I guess it was intended to hold ink, but it seemed unnecessarily wide. Maybe Ketch had used it to hold his rum bottles steady in heavy seas. It was an old book with spidery writing covering the open pages. March 20th, 1670 fix. Engaged frigate off Fan Salvador? It was garbage. Huh. I guess being a pirate didn't require too many academic qualifications. The passage went on to describe how Ketch had got wind of the approach of a fleet of English ships. It seemed the new governor had not shared his predecessor's views on Ketch's activities. They were out for his blood. Sailed to that place where I made secure my fortune. I returned safe in the knowledge that the governor shall not discover that which I had hidden. For is it not writ that 'tis easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle? It was a beautifully crafted model of a sailing ship. The ship looked too fragile to touch. It was an actual pirate ship chart. Okay, I've had my hands on an historical document. Now what? The chart fitted exactly into the recess on the top of the desk.
What you doing, Jaws?
I'm putting this old map on the desk
What you doing that for, Jaws?
because it was obviously intended to fit in this recessed area.
How'd you work that out?
It's obvious. It was a neat oil lantern made of brass. Holding that lantern, I felt kinda biblical. Like Jesus or Florence Nightingale. The lantern fitted so precisely in the inkwell, it could only be deliberate.
What you doing now, Jaws?
Knock it off, will ya? There's something you ought to know. I don't buy cute or lost puppy. I've put the lantern in the inkwell. See? It fits.
Why?
Because it was cut to fit.
Why?
Because sneaky old Captain Ketch made it that way.
Why?
What is with all the questions?
'Cause I'm interested.
Why?
'Cause I have the insatiable curiosity of the young.
Why?
All right. Truce.
The base of the lantern fitted precisely in the inkwell. It was one of those old pens made out of a feather. That might come in useful in ticklish situations.
What you doing now?
Grown-up stuff.
I doubt that.
I'm just borrowing this feather, that's all.
Why?
I might be able to make use of it.
You're gonna steal it? That's bad. I'm gonna tell on you.
No, don't do that.
Why not?
Well, because I'm not stealing, just borrowing. It was the holder for the quill. It was firmly attached to the desk. There were several things I wanted to say to that awful kid, but I held my tongue. The novelty value of having an inner tube in my pocket had worn off. I left it there. Rio had gone back to fishing. What do you give to a small, irritating girl who asks about everything?
Try a conch. Delicate colors, interesting shape, and when you put it to your ear, you can hear the sea.
Yeah, why's that?
Usually because you're standing next to it.
Cool. Have you got one?
Yeah, but I promised it to my sister. She well vexed with me.
Why is your sister mad with you?
Well, last night when I got home with our supper, she went wild. Rio, she said, how come all you ever catch is puffer fish? A sicker puffer fish. What I want is tiger fish. So don't bother come back home till you catch one, boy. I don't see how I'm gonna catch no tiger fish. All I have is a fishing pole and a worm.
What do you need to catch a tiger fish?
One of them real fancy flies like the rich fishermen use.
Any use for a quill?
What's a quill?
It's what people used to write with in Captain Ketch's days.
No, man. I'd sooner be fishing.
It was the quill I'd found in the Ketch Museum. The cat made short work of the feather, tearing it into a blizzard of small pieces. The quill had been mutilated by the cat, leaving shredded feather on the grass. The quill had been torn into small pieces.
What you got there?
Hey, this is just what you need to make a fly.
Thanks. Let's hope them tiger fish hungry. A deal's a deal. Here's a conch.
It was the conch shell that Rio had given me. Here, I've got a conch. Would you like it?
Dunno. Aunt Frost told me never to take presents from strange men.
I'm not a strange man.
Then why are you called Jaws? Jaws? That's a stupid name.
I'm not called... Look, conch, pretty. Swap for the cross, yes or no? Right, this thing's going out the window.
Okay, we'll do swapsies.
Ketch's crucifix was encrusted with precious gems. Ketch's cross slipped snugly into the penholder. Before you ask, I've put your cross in this little hole in the desk.
Why?
Impulse mainly, with a dash of irrational intuition.
Silly. Only women have intuition.
The lantern cast a strong light over the desktop. The light cast a shadow of the cross. And the shadow fell precisely over a small, unnamed island shaped like a skull. That must be it. Ketch's Treasure Island.
Uh-oh. That's Zombie Island. It's a bad place.
No kidding? Well, bad place or not, that's my next port of call.
Can I come too?
The hell you can.
I never get to leave the house.
Would you take me to, Zombie Island?
In this weather? You're mad, man.
The rain will keep the zombies indoors. Just say I did meet a zombie. What would you do?
There ain't no zombies on Zombie Island. At least, not anymore. It's uninhabited.
Good. What do you mean, not anymore?
You still want to go?
I guess.
Well, I ain't had no luck with them tiger fish. And with the mood my sister is in, I'll be safer with the zombies.
So, this was Zombie Island. Somehow I'd been expecting something more sinister. Come on, Rio. Let's find that treasure.
No thanks. I'm staying right here.
Oh, come on. You said yourself there's no zombies left.
Yeah, but that was while there was a big pile of seawater between me and this place. All me have now is this little bit between the boat and the shore, and I'm hanging on to it.
Rio's boat was strewn with fishing nets and tackle. It was the boat that Rio had brought me in. I was quite happy where I was, relatively speaking. It was Rio waiting patiently in his fishing boat. That Emily sure asks a lot of questions.
Rest it, man. This whole Emily business just isn't funny.
Look, we're obviously at cross purposes here. I'm talking about Emily Ketch.
Yeah, and so am I. She was my friend. Her aunts hated it, but we did move together, you know. She used to be real keen at hide and seek. It could take hours to find her. One time, the last time, it took days. She must have shouted and screamed herself hoarse, but there was nobody to hear her.
Where'd she hidden herself?
Captain Ketch's old sea chest. The only way to open it was from the outside.
Suddenly, I didn't feel so good. We never exchanged another word about Emily Ketch. The cliff stopped me getting off the beach. The cliff was steep, too steep to climb without handholds. And I couldn't find any. The outcrop was about the only feature on the cliff face. It was too high. I couldn't get up there. Could I borrow your net?
Yeah, man, no problem. You planning on catching some fish?
Nope. I'm after a big rock. It was Rio's fishing net. Well, here I go. Wish me luck, Rio.
Good luck, George. Watch out for the walking dead.
I stumbled down dark stairwells for what seemed like forever, until, suddenly, I found myself, wow! In an abandoned London Underground station. This place must have been closed down decades ago. It was the stairs leading back up to the museum. There was no point in going back up there. The poster was advertising a play I'd never heard of. The date on the poster was before I was born. It was an old map of the London Underground. It looked just like the modern one. It was a tube tunnel, possibly still in use. It was too dangerous to start walking along the tracks. I remembered what always happened to Wile E. Coyote when he did that. The train signal light still worked. A warning sign saying high voltage convinced me to leave the lights alone. It was a maintenance cupboard. A latch lock stopped me getting into the cupboard. The blade of the dagger just fitted between the door and the soft wood frame. The door gave slightly, and then held firm. There was a narrow gap between the cupboard door and the wooden frame. A small crack had appeared where the dagger had pried the door from its frame. Through the crack, I could just make out the latch which stopped the door from opening. My fingers were too big to reach into the tiny crack. The hair grip was too thick to fit into the crack. A pile of old railway sleepers was blocking the platform. I'd probably break my neck if I climbed over the sleepers, or worse, a heel. It was a poster advertising holidays in Scotland. It might have been a nice souvenir if it hadn't been torn and dirty. It was an old ticket machine. A sign read, "Tickets, 3D. The machine looked like it had sold its last ticket a long time ago. It was an old chocolate vending machine. The machine needed to be fed a coin before it would operate. A flap covered the tray into which the machine dispensed chocolate bars. The tray was empty. It was a cup which caught rejected coins. The cup was empty. 1D only was embossed below the coin slot. Something protruded slightly from the slot. The slot was much too thin for my fingers. The blade was too thick for the narrow slot. I pushed the hair clip into the slot and whatever was stuck there disappeared into the machine. There was a copper coin in the cup. I pulled out an old English penny. It was an old English penny coin. On one side was Britannia, managing to look both virginal and matronly. On the other was the head of King George VI, looking much the same. An ancient bar of chocolate dropped into the tray at the bottom of the machine, and as a special bonus, the penny dropped through to the reject pocket. I took the ancient bar of chocolate. It was a very old bar of chocolate with a row of boys pictured on the wrapper. I pulled out an old English penny. The ghost didn't seem threatening in any way. The ghost obviously didn't want to talk. Perhaps it was shy. LBS Lubs? What are lubs? The machine wasn't about to weigh me for nothing. I put the old penny into the slot. The needle twitched rustily and the machine spat out a card. The weight was in imperial units. It meant nothing to me. The card also had my fortune on it. A family quarrel will turn out to your advantage. I had the feeling something weird awaited me if I went that way. Who the hell are you?
Joey, is that you?
Oh, I remember you now. Hey, listen, don't go near that hole.
Nobody tells Robert Foster what to do, lady.
You don't understand. I've played this game before. There's something horrible in that hole. Some beast with tentacles.
You're nuts.
They don't make animations like that anymore. I remembered my student days when I regularly forgot my house keys. A wiggle with the thick cord between the frame and the lock, and the latch lifted. It was a big, red, ever so tempting button. The train was my ride out of it. I could worry about not having a ticket when I got to the docks.
The path led off into the forest. It was a stagnant swamp. Nothing, I mean nothing, would possess me to step into that swamp. Oh no, I wasn't going in there. A clump of reeds grew out of the stinking swamp. One reed was enough. Another tree-lined path leading to more trees and paths. There was something in that hole beneath the rock. As soon as I stooped to investigate the hole, its inhabitant disappeared into the darkness. The creature disappeared again, but I caught a glimpse of something small and furry. It was a short, hollow reed. The end of the reed had been neatly bitten off. Now I knew what was living in there. A long-toothed, snarling, furry wild thing. It was home to something with more teeth than kind thoughts in its head. That path looked familiar, but then they all did. What the? Steady, guy. It's just a monkey. Ah! Stay cool, Stobart. It was only a bird. The path led back up to the cliff top. The path led off towards the center of the island. The path was blocked by an ugly and extremely dangerous-looking boar. That boar wasn't going to move unless I made him. The boar's expression said, "Forget it, Stobart." The boar looked determined to stop me from getting past. I couldn't get close enough to stick the dart in him. There wasn't much point in using an empty hollow reed on a wild boar. The dart fitted snugly into the reed. Great. I was tooled up and dangerous. The poisoned dart was loosely lodged inside the reed. It was a stout, overhanging branch. If I jumped, I could just about reach the branch. The branch wasn't as strong as I'd thought. That branch had helped me all it was going to. There was no telling where it went. It was a needle of rock in the middle of the clearing. It didn't look like a natural formation. I remembered Ketch's log. For is it not writ that 'tis easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle? It seemed pretty relevant now. No good. I'd have to be bitten by a radioactive spider before I stood any chance of getting up there. The rock was partially overgrown by creepers. The creeper just came away from the rock as I pulled it. The marker wasn't going to stay attached to anything as thick as the creeper. I could see no point in tying the net to the creepers on the rock. The marker clipped firmly onto the net. The electronic marker was wrapped up in the net. There was no point in tying the net and marker to the creepers near the bottom of the rock. The creeper lay on the ground, looking pretty crept out. The creeper didn't look like it would hold my weight. Great. I'd created some sort of creeper marker fishing net assembly. Sometimes I terrify myself with my creative genius. The marker was fastened to the creeper by the net. Now it was starting to look like something useful. I'd successfully got the marker into a position near the top of the needle simply by using the kind of lateral thinking that can get you institutionalized. That high up, the marker should be visible for miles. I wasn't going to pull it down now I'd got it up there. The path led to where the boar hung out. Not far away, I could see Camel's Hump Hill. Three shallow holes had been made in the rock. Joining the dots would make an equilateral triangle. Initials had been carved into the rock. Initials carved into the stone read F.K. Frederick Ketch had been here. It was Bronson's theodolite, now being put to a nobler use than petty larceny. The hill I was on had reminded me of a camel's hump as I'd climbed up it. Now I had to see what I could see. It was the marker which I had raised up the needle of rock. I could see the marker I had fastened on the rock down in the forest, and right in line with it, the rock I was looking for. The steep path led back to the clearing where I'd shot the boar. Correctly politically, non-fatally, of course. The track led in the direction of the rock I'd seen through the theodolite.
It was Tower Bridge, a magnificent mess of mock Gothic architecture and Victorian engineering. My business was here, not on Tower Bridge. It was the Tower of London, originally built by the French, naturally. I was too busy to play the tourist. The Xibalba Princess lay at anchor just below Tower Bridge. I knew I'd found the right ship as soon as I saw Pablo at the rail. Pablo, Karzak's pet sadist. Pablo would probably shoot me on sight. The crate was a good hiding place, but I couldn't stay there forever. I couldn't open the crate, and I couldn't move it. It was the door to the boat's main cabin. I wasn't going in there until I knew if anyone was inside. A guard patrolled the deck. He was sure to be armed. I couldn't let the guard see me. It was a porthole to the main cabin. I couldn't get near it with that guard patrolling the deck. It looked like the door to some sort of utility locker. Metal hooks had been welded onto each side of the door frame. A mop for swabbing the deck stood against the wall. I didn't think I had time to get to the mop before the guard reappeared. The gangplank crossed a collection of heaving litter. I suppose the Thames was under it somewhere. I couldn't make it to the gangplank without being seen. It was risky, but I thought I could get to the next crate unseen. The crate sheltered me from unfriendly eyes. The crate was sealed and too heavy to move. A ladder gave access to the cabin's roof. Got you.
But the collar woman was there. They'll know it was me.
But you have the stone. The right stone, you're sure?
Yes, of course, it's the Jaguar Stone. No possible mistake. Here it is. Karzak, please. The police will be looking for me soon. You're going to get me out of the country, aren't you?
Stop your whining, Oubier. You have any idea what this stone symbolizes?
I thought you just wanted it to frighten the natives.
Fool. I intend to cast this stone into the sea.
But why? It's unique.
Exactly. With it gone, the Mayan priest's plan to destroy Tezcatlipoca cannot succeed.
I can assure you that Tezcatlipoca is a mythical figure.
Such a small mind you live in. Tezcatlipoca is real. I have seen him in my dreams. We have spoken of his plans for this world. We have spoken of your part in these plans.
My part?
He told me you would be useful. He told me how to crush your spirit by turning you to drugs.
My wife died. You know that full well. She was my world, my everything.
And now, you are no longer useful. She called out your name as she died, you know.
What? What are you saying?
And then they thought you'd done it. It all worked perfectly.
You? It was you? You bastard! You monster! For the love of God, Karzak!
Which one?
It was the Jaguar Stone that Oubier had stolen from the museum. It was identical in size and shape to the Coyote Stone. A stylized carving of a jaguar decorated one side. I couldn't just rifle his body without making sure he was really dead. Oubier lay sprawled across the table. There were no signs of life, but I checked that Oubier really was beyond help. There was no pulse. He'd gone to join his wife. We were going to need the stone to thwart Karzak. I knew Oubier would have approved. It was the Jaguar Stone, all right. Come on, Collard, think!